whatever the business unit this person, the entrepreneur, has started, we call it as the enterprise. Why do we say that entrepreneurship is a systematic activity? Because it has some certain skills. What do we mean by organization? Organization is nothing but bringing together the 4 M's of business. So whenever the Swiggy, whoever it has tied up with almost all the restaurants, so he needs to have good negotiation skills. Hello everyone, I am Purnima, faculty in the Department of Commerce, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. In this session, I will be having a discussion on Chapter 9, Session 3. Now, let us see what this session holds for us. Now, in this session, we will be having a discussion on what is entrepreneurship development and what are the characteristics or the features of entrepreneurship development. Now, we often come across the word entrepreneur. Who is an entrepreneur? Or we also come across the word startup companies. Now, what do we mean? How do we correlate startup and entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is any person who wants to start his own business. A person with a business idea. So, he wants to set up his own business and earn profits. So, whenever you conduct a market survey or when you are observing the market, then you find that there is a necessity for certain type of a service, or there is a necessity for a certain type of a product. Then you think upon the business idea, then do all the calculations, and then you feel that this idea is very, very feasible and it is most profitable, then you can take up that idea. So how do you do that? Nowadays we have so many startup companies. So anybody who has a new business idea, he can start up his own company. So a startup company is one wherein a person who intends to do business, he can just do his own business or start up his business. So entrepreneur is any person who is interested or who has an original business idea and he wants to just cash in on that. So that is an entrepreneur. Nowadays, we have lot of businesses coming up and they are doing very good business. For example, you take the example of Swiggy. What is the main idea behind that? Swiggy is nothing but a service. So you have lot of restaurants all around the area in which you stay, and then you just order the food from any of the restaurants. So you need not go to the restaurant. So somebody is going there on behalf of you and bringing the food for you from the restaurant to the place where you are staying. So this is the service which they are giving. So this is one of the most original idea, and now you can see how popular it has become. So these kind of ideas there, so they just cash in on these. So entrepreneurs are those persons who identify the gaps in the services or gaps in the products, and they just cash in on that idea and make lot of profit out of that. Now, let us look into what do we mean by entrepreneurship development. So, entrepreneurship is the process of setting up one's own business as distinct from pursuing any other economic activity, be it employment or practicing some profession. So, entrepreneur is nothing but a person who wants to start up his own business. So, we have 3 options before us. So, in case you want to have a livelihood, then what are the 3 options before us? Either you start your own business, or you seek an employment in an organization, or you have a profession. So for profession, you need to have the professional education. If you want to open a chartered accountancy firm or an auditing firm, then you should be a holder of the chartered accountancy degree. Then you want to be a doctor, then you have to have this MBBS degree. So they are the professionals who will be earning money through their profession, practicing their profession. Now, other than that, if you have a degree like any graduate degree or BCom or MCom or MBA, then you can always go in for employment in any of the organizations. And other than that, suppose suppose you having a business idea and you have the resources, then you can always start up your own business. So with a business idea, the person who starts up his own business, he is called as the entrepreneur. So he does not want to be just commanded by anybody else. If he is working in an organization, so he has to follow the rules of the organization. So he has to see that he comes on time to the organization, respect the principles of the organization, and work from the timings. So they have fixed timings. So all that will be there. So in case a person does not want to do all these things, then he can always go in for his own business. He can start his own business and then he can just earn money. The person who sets up his business, he is called as the entrepreneur. So any person it may be, whoever sets up his own business, we call him as the entrepreneur, and the output of that process, the business unit, is called as the enterprise. So whatever the business unit this person, the entrepreneur, has started, we call it as the enterprise. So this is the meaning of the word entrepreneurship, entrepreneur and enterprise. Now let us see what are the characteristics of this entrepreneurship. So first one is, it is a systematic activity. So entrepreneurship is a systematic activity. Now why do we call it as a systematic activity? Let us see. Entrepreneurship is a systematic, step-by-step and purposeful activity. So why we call it as a purposeful activity? Because it has certain temperamental skill and other knowledge and competency requirements that can be acquired, learnt and developed both by formal education and vocational training as well as by observation and work experience. Now, why do we say that entrepreneurship is a systematic activity? Because it has some certain skills. So there should be some skills in him. So inherent in that person, then he should also have knowledge of competency requirements. So what is this competency requirements? That is, if he wants to start a business, so he should have all the knowledge of how to start a business and competency requirements that can be acquired. So he can acquire these requirements, learn them, develop them through formal education. With the help of formal education, he can get all these competency requirements, and as well as by vocational training. Now there are so many institutes which are giving vocational training to these persons. So as well as by observation and work experience. So through training, formal education, personal observation, we can get the competency skills required to start an enterprise. So all these formulate the enterprise. So that is why we call the entrepreneurship as a systematic activity. Now, the next feature of this entrepreneurship is lawful and purposeful activity. The object of entrepreneurship is lawful business. It is important to take note of this, as one may try to legitimize unlawful actions as entrepreneurship on the grounds that just as entrepreneurship entails risk, so does illicit businesses. Now, we should understand that entrepreneurship is a lawful and purposeful activity. So, why we stress on this lawful and purposeful activity? Because all business should be legal business. Why? Because it should be recognized in the eyes of law. So anything which is illegal, even though it may be an original idea, we cannot consider it as an enterprise, or it is not recognized under the law. So that businesses which the law forbids, that businesses we cannot do. So that is why we say that the object of entrepreneurship is lawful business. So it should be recognized under the law, and it is important to note that of this anyone may try to legitimize unlawful actions. So a person may say that I have got this business idea, it is very nice. So but he may be doing some illegal business. So what is illegal business? So he may be dealing with those goods which are banned by the government. So such banned goods, if he is trading in them, then it will not be be a lawful business, and such business can be restricted by the law. So, to legitimize unlawful actions as entrepreneurship. So, we should not try to legitimize unlawful actions. So, all illegal trade of banned goods should be avoided. So, they don't come under the purview of entrepreneurship. So, just as entrepreneurship entails risk, so does illicit business. So, some people may argue, see, whatever the business we do, it involves risk. So, even though we are doing this trading in this banned goods, so that even in that also we are facing the risk. So, we can equate both, and we can consider it as it is a legitimate business. No, so you cannot draw conclusions like that. Say business involves risk, we agree, but then we should see that the business, whatever we are doing, it should be recognized under the law. It is a legal business. So we cannot equate illegal business with legal business just because both involve risk. So we should understand that this illegitimate business cannot be equated with the regular business, and all enterprises should be involved in lawful and purposeful activity. Only then we can call it as an entrepreneur. Then the next character, the purpose of entrepreneurship is creation of value for personal profit and social gain. Now, what do we mean by personal profit? The person who is engaged in this business, so in the long run, he will be making profits. Again, if you take the example of Swiggy, so Swiggy is the online food service where the food will be delivered at your doorstep, and for the delivery, for the service which he is offering, so he will be charging a minimal fee, and that through that fee only the owner will be making personal profit. So this is the personal profit which the owner is making. And then social gain. What is the gain here? So the person who has ordered the food, he need not move out of his home. He can just order the food and sit in the comfort of his home and enjoy the food. So that is the social gain he is getting. So in this way, the service provider has saved him the transport cost. So instead of taking his bike and going to a faraway restaurant, so he will be just sitting at home and making someone to bring the food from the restaurant to his home, and in this manner he will be saving on his transport cost, but then he will also be enjoying the luxury of that particular food of that particular restaurant in his home. So this is the gain he is getting. So any business activity or any enterprise should bring in personal profit and social gain. Now, the next one is the organization of production. Now we all understand that we have studied what do we mean by organization. Organization is nothing but bringing together the 4 M's of business. Now what are the 4 M's of business? So men, money, machines and materials. So it represents, M represents men, then again M represents money, then again M represents materials, then M represents machines. So these are the 4 M's of business. So any person who wants to start a business, he has to bring together all these 4 M's. Only when he brings together the 4 M's, in other words, the bringing together, the process of bringing together all these 4 M's, we call it as organization. Now, an entrepreneur, he has to have this organization of production. Now, what do we mean by that? Production implying creation of form, place, time, personal utility requires the combined utilization of diverse factors of production, land, labor, capital and technology. So whenever a person wants to start a business, a manufacturing unit, then what should he have? Any manufacturing unit will require men, it will require money, it will require machinery and materials. So he should have the act to bring all these together and then start the business. So in other words, he will be creating farm utility. Now what do we mean by this farm utility? So if the cotton grows on trees, so whatever the cotton which is growing on the trees, can we just use it in the same way? No. So we have to create a yarn out of that and then weave it into a cloth, and only then we can make use of it. So that is how we are making use of the cotton or the textile industry. The main ingredient is the raw material. So this raw material, what is growing in from what we are getting from the land, so that we have to get it into a form so that we can make use of it. Or you can take the example of sugarcane. Sugarcane grows from the land, and that sugarcane has to be turned into sugar in order to consume it in the various forms. So we can make use of it in our food. So in this way, we can see that whatever is growing from the farms, so we will be making use of it as a raw material, converting it to a finished product, and then only we can make use of it. So in other words, we are having farm utility out of the raw material. So raw material in the raw form, we cannot use it, and only when it gets turned into a finished product only we can make use of that material. So we are creating farm utility. Place utility. What is place utility? So the raw materials will be transported to the place of manufacturing, and once that gets converted into a finished product, it will have to reach the consumer. So the place utility is got through the help of transportation. And then the time utility. Now what is this time utility? Time utility is whenever there is a demand for the product, this product should be there on time. So in other words, whenever the consumer demands for the product should be supplied to the consumer. So this we call it as the time utility. So all these combine into the organization of production. So this organization of production has to be taken up by the entrepreneur. Then entrepreneur, in response to a perceived business opportunity, mobilizes these resources into a productive enterprise or a firm. It may be pointed out that entrepreneur may not be possessing any of these resources. He may just have the idea that he promotes among the resource providers. So the entrepreneur, he may have a business idea. So this business opportunity mobilizes these resources into a productive enterprise or the firm. Now, again, if you take the example of Swiggy, what is there in Swiggy? They are just the online food providers, and then they don't do any production as such. They have so many restaurants under them, and they have contact with the restaurant, and they just go and order the food and get it packed and bring it on time to the person who has ordered the food. So this is the online service which that person, this Swiggy is giving us. So whatever is the resources, where are the resources here? So resources are nothing but the restaurants which are there. So these restaurants, they will be providing the food to this Swiggy or this food online service providers. So we will have to just mobilize these resources. So how do we mobilize them? So you just have a contact or you have a network of restaurants who are ready to work for this online food service. Only then we can just survive, or only then we can get this idea through. So that is how, so we have to mobilize these resources into a productive enterprise. So it may be pointed out that entrepreneur may not be possessing any of these resources. Now the Swiggy provider, he is not the owner of any of the restaurant, so he may just have the idea that he promotes. So he has the idea, so he has that idea that the food, whatever is being cooked in the restaurant, it will reach the hands of the consumer through his services. So this idea which he has shared it among with the all the restaurant owners, and as a result of which we see that Swiggy is doing very well nowadays. So entrepreneur needs negotiation skills to raise these in the best interest of the enterprise. So whenever the Swiggy, whoever it has tied up with almost all the restaurants, so he needs to have good negotiation skills. So only when he has good negotiation skills, he can convince the restaurant that he is a very good service provider, and the both can just earn money in the long run. The restaurant, instead of having just one or two customers and he will be sitting blank the whole day, so he will be having the customers through the Swiggy orders also, and in this way the Swiggy also will be getting money and the restaurant owners also will be earning money. So this understanding between these two can be done only with the help of proper negotiation skills. Then next, let us have a look into what are the intellectual property rights, or the IPR. Let us have an understanding of what this slide says. So all inventions of creations begin with an idea. Once the idea becomes actual product, the intellectual property one can apply to the authority concerned under the government of India for protection. So legal rights conferred on such products are called intellectual property rights. That is the IPR. Now let us see what this IPR holds for us. All inventions of creations begin with an idea. So what do we mean by this idea? So idea is something which is original, or with the help of this idea we can get new innovations. Now for example, you take the example of the camera. So before the invention of the mobiles, or before the camera mobiles came into existence, we had to click photos with the help of the traditional camera, where we had to insert a roll, the negative we had to insert, and then we had to click photo, and then we had to take for the photos for cleaning, and then we had to get it printed. So that was the traditional way of taking photos. Now with the help of the camera, or with the help of the mobile, advent of the new latest technology which is there, IT, information technology, it has helped us the making all these things simpler. So nowadays we don't have the roll, etc. Only through the help of the mobile only we can just take splendid photos. So how did this come into existence? It came into existence because somebody thought of it as an idea. So he thought of removing that negative from that camera, and instead of that he has inserted something else in this place, and now we have the mobile to take photos, or we have these cameras which we do not need any roll at all in that. So this is an original idea. Now if you take the example of the traditional tape recorder, see, the tape recorder has come a long way. Before we had those very big discs with the gramophone, and then we had to just insert the gramophone on the disc and then we could play music. Now all those are gone. After that we got the cassettes with the magnetic tapes, and then we got the iPod. Now we have everything in the mobile. So the nanotechnology has helped us to bring this very big gadgets into a small mobile. So with the help of a small mobile only, we can take pictures, we can listen to music, we can take videos. So everything is done in the mobile itself. So this mobile has replaced so many gadgets. So it has replaced the traditional telephone, it has replaced the camera, it has replaced the tape recorder, gramophone, etc. So all this has combined into one single mobile. So this is the invention, or the idea which the human mind has brought into. So this invention, whatever they have invented, so it all begins with one single idea. If you take the example of the computer also, so before we had the computer system, and then we had the CPU and etc. Nowadays it has transformed into a laptop, and now we have the tablets, so etc. So all these things, they are all inventions of the mind. So the inventions, it begins with an idea, and then because of that invention, original idea whoever has thought of, we are enjoying so many comforts in our daily life. So once we have an idea, so the idea becomes an actual product, the intellectual property one can apply apply to the authority concerned under the government of India. Suppose you have an original idea which can be turned into a product, then we can hold the intellectual property rights for that, and that is what we call it as intellectual property rights. So legal rights conferred on such products. So the government of India will confer such rights on that particular person, and such rights are called as the intellectual property rights, or we also call it as the IPR. So intellectual property rights. Now, intellectual property refers to the products of the human mind. Hence, just like other types of property, the owners of the IP can rent, give or sell it to other people. So, whoever owns the intellectual property, suppose the person who has invented the mobile, so he has this knowledge of how to use or how to manufacture this mobile. So, he will just hand over that right, or he may just rent that whatever knowledge he has to some other person, or he may just sell it to other people and earn money. So that is what we mean by intellectual property. So whatever the knowledge he has, so that knowledge he will be sharing with other persons. How he will share? He may either rent it or he may sell that knowledge to some other person. So that is what we call it as the intellectual property. Then intellectual property refers to the creations of the human mind, like inventions, literary and artistic works, symbols, names, images, designs used in business. So by intellectual property, we mean all the creations of the human mind. So only in the human mind only we can create everything. So this creations like inventions, so any new product which has come into existence, the literary and artistic works. So literary means, so whatever, suppose you have written a book, so that book, on that book you will be having a copyright. So you can just sell the copyright to a publisher and he will be just giving you the royalty. Then artistic works, suppose you are a very good painter, so you can paint very well, then those paintings also you can have this intellectual property rights. Then symbols, so it may be the logos of any of the company. Names, so names also, so names of specified companies, they are registered and nobody can make use of that name. Then images and designs, the image also, or designs of the buildings, designs of textiles, so designs wherever it is used, for all those we have the protection under the act, that is the Intellectual Property Rights Act. So anybody can get protection under this act, and all these which are used in business, so they are protected under the IPR Act. Now let us have a look into further into what the rights tell us. Now, intellectual property is divided into two broad categories. So, industrial property, which includes inventions, that is the patents, trademarks, industrial designs and geographical indications, while the other is the copyrights, which includes literary and artistic works such as novels, poems, plays, films, musical works, artistic works such as drawings, paintings, photographs, sculptures and architectural designs. Now, we should understand that the intellectual property rights, they are divided into two sections. The first one is the industrial property. Now, what do we mean by industrial property? Yeah, they are nothing but the inventions or the patents. So, what is this patent? So, patent to do something. So, you have the patent rights to start production, so production of a product. So, that patent is an industrial property. Then trademarks. So, for example, we have the trademarks, the ag mark, which is used for the agricultural products. So, this product is genuine. So, that is what we call as the trademark. Or we also have the ISI mark. What is this ISI mark? Indian Standards of Institute mark. So, this ISI mark, if any product bears this ISI mark, it means that the product is safe for consumption. So, it is an assured, product for safety. Then, we have the industrial industrial designs. So industrial designs refer to the various kinds of designs which are available. Then geographical indications, while the other is the copyrights. So first one is the industrial property, second one is the copyright. Now what is this copyright? So copyright refers to a literary and artistic work. So if you have written a story, then the storybook, you will be having exclusive copyright of that story book. So even though it gets so many editions, so as and when the books get sold, so you will be earning the money through the copyright or through the royalty. Then we can also have the IPR for novels, poems, plays, films, etc. Musical works. So musical works also. So you have a unique musical talent, bring out your own album on this music. So all those things. And artistic works, so like painting, etc. Then drawings, paintings, photographs, sculptures and architectural designs. So all these are covered under the intellectual property rights, because each person has his own imagination and that imagination is unique and it has to be protected. So nobody can make use of anybody else's designs to design his own home. So it will all be protected under the IPR. Then next, the following types of intellectual property rights are recognized in India. So first one is the copyright, next is the trademark, then we have the geographical indication, then we have the patent, design, plant variety, semiconductor integrated circuit and layout design. So under the intellectual property rights, we have different types. So some of them are here. So that is copyright. Copyright is nothing but the copyright of a novel, copyright of a movie, copyright of a short film. Then trademark. Trademark refers to the products or the trademarks on the any of the products which are sold. Then we have the geographical indication, which represents that that product has come from that particular geographical region. Then we have the patents. So patents is the technical know-how which you will be making use of to production. Then we have the design. So design refers to the plan of the house, or it may be an architectural design. Plant variety. Now what is this plant variety? Plant variety refers to that some of the rare plants or some of the rare seeds which are there, which are now extinct, but then somebody has made use, somebody has stored these plant seeds and now he is bringing it out. So that plant variety also is protected under the IPR. Then semiconductor integrated circuit, layout design. So all these, they come under the intellectual property rights. Now, in addition to this, the traditional knowledge also fall under the intellectual property. Now, homely remedies are traditional medicines that have been practiced in India for the past several centuries. They are also known as the traditional knowledge and some examples of Indian tradition. So we know that as Indians, we know that we are well versed in Ayurveda, and Ayurveda is nothing but you make use of the naturally available plants, fruits, etc. and see that you regain your health. Now, this traditional knowledge of whatever the medicines we are having, so we call it as the homely remedies. So through these homely remedies, we can just sustain ourselves, or for any minor ailments, we can make use of this homely remedies which are in practice for the past several centuries, and this we call it as the traditional knowledge. For example, if you get hurt, the one best remedy is to just apply some turmeric on that. Now, there was a suit by the University of Mississippi. So in the University of Mississippi, it wanted to have a patent for this turmeric because of its healing properties. So this University of Mississippi wanted to have a patent for this turmeric, but then the Indian government, it just contested that, and then the Indian government won the case, and it said that turmeric cannot be patented because turmeric's healing property has been in India. Indians have known it for the past 1,000 years. So we have been making use of this turmeric, and as such, it cannot be patented. So that is something which is traditional knowledge over which nobody can say I have a patent on that. So that is wrong. And then we also have some examples of Indian traditional medicine system, that is the Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha and the Yoga. So we have the various systems of medicines in India. So the Ayurvedic system we have the Unani medicine, we have the Siddha medicine, we have the Yoga also. So these supplement the traditional medicine, and through which we can get holistic treatment for any of the ailments. Then traditional knowledge means the knowledge, systems, innovations and practices of local communities across the globe. So just like in India we have the traditional knowledge, so all over the world people will be having their own traditional knowledge. So whatever is locally available, they make use of that knowledge and they try to treat themselves, and this knowledge whatever is there, so that we call it as the traditional knowledge. So such wisdom has been developed and accumulated over the years and has been used and passed down through several generations. So this knowledge which is there, it has been practiced, timed and tested, and then it has been there for over so many years, and it has been passed on from generation to generation. Next, here let us see what is a trade secret. A trade secret is basically any confidential information which provides a competitive edge. Trade secrets in India are protected under the Indian Contract Act of 1872. Now, what do we mean by trade secret? For example, you take the example of the most popular drink, the Coca-Cola. So, who knows the formula to make that Coca-Cola? Only the 3 people in world, they know how to do this formula for this Coca-Cola. So that is a trade secret which cannot be shared, and because of that secret only, that particular drink has become most popular. So it is most popular drink all over the world, and then it is still making profits. So if the secret has been revealed, then there will be other persons who will be cashing in on that. So in order to avoid that, you have to maintain secrecy. So that secrecy what we maintain, that we call it as the trade secret. So these trade secrets, they are protected under the Indian Contract Act of 1872. Now, let us see why IPR is important for entrepreneurs. Why we should have protection, or intellectual property rights should be protected, why it is important. So it encourages creation of new path breaking inventions such as cancer cure medicines. So why IPR is very important? Because it encourages creation of new path. For example, you take the example of the COVID. So for the past 2 years, the whole world came under the COVID. So because of COVID, people used to just stay back indoors and they used to just not come out of their houses. Now, because of the invention of the vaccine for this, we are now able to resume our normal activities. So why this has become important now? Because it will encourage us, the intellectual property, whoever has just found the medicine for COVID or who has found the vaccine for the COVID virus. So it encourages creation of new path-breaking invention. So this new invention, so this new vaccine, we call it as a path-breaking invention, and it has given us the remedy for COVID, and in the same way the cancer cure medicines. Then it incentivizes inventors, authors, creators, etc. for their work. So whoever is involved in all this research and development, so they will be properly rewarded. Then it also allows the work created by a person to be distributed and communicated to the public only with his or her permission. So with the help of this IPR, whoever has got the idea and for the benefit of the public, he can always communicate this idea, he can always distribute this knowledge only with his own permission. Suppose I have an original idea, then I can get myself protected under the Intellectual Property Rights Act. And then if anybody has to make use of that knowledge, he has to take my permission. Next, it helps in the prevention of loss of income. So the person who has thought of that idea, who has got that invention, so he will be earning regular income from that kind of a property rights. And also it helps authors, creators, developers and owners to get recognition for their work. So it may be the authors or creators and developers. So they get recognition for their work. And that is why we say that IPR is more important for entrepreneurs. So hope you have all understood this session on MSME and entrepreneurship development. Thank you.